Hello, I'm here from my Geography in My Backyard project. I'm here at Eisenhower Park, um, just at the beginning of the trailhead here. Just gonna go check it out and see what we can find. Okay, so I'm standing in this, in the middle of this stream bed here, which I think I was here 2 weeks ago, and even now it rained so much that a lot of this brush has fallen over and made it kind of harder to see from the trail, but turn this around so that we can see here. So I'm standing in the middle of this stream bed here, and I believe it's actually kind of braided right here. As you can see, this is like a island in the middle, and if it continues down this way, and then if I was over here to the right, there's also a small channel running alongside of it that eventually joins up with it on the other side of the trail. But just looking at the banks of these streams, I can definitely see some chemical weathering happening. These rocks are very gray, and clearly carbonation has run its course. You can see a lot of weathering happening here. On this side, I think it's pretty apparent that we have a somewhat of a stream meander happening right here. Just all along this side, we have somewhat of a cut bank forming. It's definitely, the bank is definitely a little bit more steep on this side of the stream bed as it is over here. If you turn around and get down in here, the stream bed is clearly not as steep on this other side, so I guess we would have a point bar on this side with material being deposited. I guess if we walk, it's kind of hard to see with the brush, and this stream channel has definitely been blocked, I think, by all this brush moving into the wave recently, but you can definitely see some smaller rocks and other materials that have been deposited on this other side here. Okay, as I'm walking up the slope on this trail, I just keep noticing better and better portions of this same stream channel to point out here. So I'm gonna turn this around. So here we have another clear example. This is still the same stream channel. And by the way, I've walked all around this park, and I've noticed many different stream channels that are probably, you know, I guess second or third order streams that eventually connect together. They're all part of the same watershed, but this is still part of that same original stream channel that I've been following, but this is where it really opens up a lot wider, and there's some way more clear examples of it meandering. So if I walk down a little bit in here, we've got a very huge cut bank here that has been weathered over time. You can see the stream kind of flows this way. Over here you've got another portion of it here. The rock is extremely weathered. You can tell that it's been exposed for a long time, and the river has, or the stream rather, has really deepened over time. I mean, I'm standing down in the middle of this stream bed, and this rock is like almost as tall as me. So over time, it has definitely eroded away the bottom of this stream bed to the point where it's several feet more deep than it probably originally was on this landscape. And then on the other side, you can tell, again, another point bar here on the inside of this curve here. It's just deposited material, small deposited material here. And the bank is not steep at all. I can walk right up it. It's just here. But we have some incredible biological or biotic weathering happening here too. We've got two large trees, two different types of trees here. This oak tree and mesquite, I guess. Not exactly sure, but they're both doing their part to weather this rock away for sure. You can see right here, this trunk is like embedded into the rock, and so I'm sure it has roots growing all in it. I can see a root right there that's definitely taking shape down here. So right here, I've just walked 10 feet further upstream in the same stream channel, and you have another meander here happening with another point bar on the opposite side of the stream. Same thing occurring here. We got a lot of biotic weathering happening with the tree roots splitting the rocks apart, and heavy carbonation taking place. I can even see some right here. It's a pretty clear example of the joints in this rock. You can tell those joints occur at like 90-degree angles, and I've got this very clear example of, you know, nice right angle splits in this rock face here. And of course, heavy carbonation occurring in this entire area. Everything's gray, everything's very weathered. And then right here in the very middle of the stream bed, I have two ginormous boulders who are sitting on by themselves, not attached to any larger portion of rock, which tells me that they are probably the product of mass wasting. Looks like gravity has done its job here. Perhaps they were a part of this cut bank originally, and eventually over time, different weathering processes, I'm sure a combination of mechanical, biotic, and chemical weathering has broken these two huge pieces of rock off, and they landed here in the middle of the stream bed. So I'm just following this trail now. It's kind of not one of the main trails, but it does have some markers. So I'm gonna keep walking up it and just see what we find. But I've noticed this stream has just gotten larger and larger, and we've come to another braid here. Let me turn this around so that we can see better. So this is it's the same channel that I've been following this entire time, but right here in the middle is another section of the land that's lifted up higher, and then we've got another stream channel on the other side. They're almost like two little mini valleys. So with two streams joining into them, but they join together right here again, and I see a lot of biological weathering happening in this general area. Every large rock face that I see is being affected by roots that are taking hold right next to it, right on top of it, or inside the rock itself, and just doing its work to split that rock. Okay, so here I'm standing on this bridge that crosses right over the middle of this stream that I've been walking up. And clearly this bridge is built, it's, you know, part of the hiking trail, but clearly the stream gets much higher than this bridge even, so it can't be used all the time. If there's recently been rain, I don't know how high it normally gets, but you can see behind me there's like a cut bank right there, which is sitting up higher than the top of this bridge that I'm standing on. So clearly it's not always safe to walk on this bridge, but there's no water in the stream right now, so we'll take the chance. Just standing on this bridge again, and I'm noticing just how many smaller materials are left behind the stream once the water stops flowing. I guess it's a lot of alluvium that is deposited. They're not big enough to just float along with the stream, so they probably are a process of saltation, a lot of this stuff, or traction even, because some of these rocks are definitely pretty big. But I'm just noticing how many rocks at the bottom of this stream channel are deposited here at this ephemeral stream every time the stream runs its course and the water is done flowing through this area. It just gets deeper and deeper as I walk upstream, and I think that's the product of the elevation, or the grade of the slope out here in Eisenhower Park gradually increases as I walk out more and more the direction that I'm going in. We're kind of at the base of, you know, the hill country, so we start getting into these bigger and bigger hills here. And I think that's apparent when you look at this stream bed and notice that just 100 or 200 yards downwards where I started in the stream bed, it was definitely, I mean, it was tiny. You could barely tell that it was a stream, but now it's a solid, so I'm walking uphill here. It's like 20 feet across, and it's like the bottom of the stream bed is like 10 feet below me, 12 feet below me. So it's a pretty drastic change here. I think the water, there's less meandering going on in this portion of the stream, so I think that gravity is doing its work, and since it has a steeper grade to flow down, it doesn't need to meander so much as it would on a flatter surface. So you see a very straight channel here, and it's like a trench. It's just very deep with steep sides, steep banks on either side here. So here's the direction that it's flowing in, and as you can see, there's a big ass tree here just growing out sideways. It's jutting out from that rock right there, so that's obvious biotic weathering. I'm sure those roots are absolutely tearing apart that rock. But we also see a lot of moss growing on this big rock right here. It's definitely somewhat of a cut bank. You can definitely see, I mean, the different layers are very exposed, especially right here. You can see underneath that rock. Okay, well, that's all I have for today. I'm completely gassed, but we found some pretty cool stuff. Lots of weathering happening in this park. Lots of big hills to climb up and down, and lots of different stream channels that definitely flow together that I guess are a part of the Salado Creek watershed, I believe. But that's all for me.